Welcome to Cinema Gulp today. This is John.
And this is Ben.
Today we're going to do a Gulp review for Kong, Skull Island.
With this new King Kong film, it feels as if the filmmakers tried to stomp a happy medium into this equation. It's not nearly as wacky and ridiculous as the 1998 Zilla, nor is it even close to as serious and dark as the 2014 one. However, it teeters much more towards the 90s version in the sense that it's so happy with itself and literally spews its unapologetic harmonics, horrific jokes, and mind-numbingly cheesy dialogue all over the screen as often as it possibly can. Kong is a fine time at the cinema. It's not a good movie, but it does exactly what I think they wanted it to do. It makes fun of itself while capturing some fairly fun sequences for the audience to feast on. It's a fun movie at the expense of being a quality one. So that's my opening take. John, what did you think of Kong Skull Island?
Well, I have to say thank God for John C. Reilly and Brie Larson's boobs, because those were the only two characters, or three characters, depending on how you want to look at them.
Wow, I noticed so little about Brie Larson in this movie. I didn't even notice that.
Well, I noticed her boobs. I didn't notice her character, but I noticed her boobs. Yeah, this movie is just an example of Hollywood franchise machine at work. They crammed way too many underdeveloped characters into this lazy, exposition-filled script, and most of them are there just to be a high body count for the effects team to smash and squish. I didn't really like this film all that much. It reminded me of kind of a Roland Emmerich film, a Roland Emmerich disaster film filled with terrible dialogue and terrible characterizations, lazy character intros, stupid decision-making, an overuse of CGI, and an abundance of action movie cliches and contrivances.
The movie definitely has fun sequences, and it also has some sort of fun ideas. The whole, this is not a spoiler review, so we won't get too much into it, but the way the island shields itself is kind of clever, and that actually was not that stupid compared to some of the other stuff that happens in this movie. It's one thing I'll say we'll both say right now, this movie's really stupid. It's stupid, stupid, stupid.
I did like the approach of the film, like you mentioned. I thought Skull Island was kind of interesting, and the way it shields itself, and the fact that they were racing to beat the Russians, who were, satellites are coming into play, and this information is now going to be seen by Russians, so they're racing to get to the island, and the way they tied it in with the Vietnam War and stuff was kind of an interesting approach to the film.
Sure.
But it's a film you just can't take serious. It's not trying to be taken serious, as you pointed out, but it's a film I couldn't really get myself invested in any way because these characters were so terrible and so over the top. The acting by some of the best actors in this film was terrible. Samuel L. Jackson and John Goodman were just hamming it up the whole time.
No, those two they had a wager, I guarantee it. There was a wager between those two to see who could be the shittiest. Because they read the script and they probably called each other like, did you read this fucking script? Are you kidding me? Let's see.
Who won that bet?
I say Samuel L. Jackson won the bet. But it was close. John Goodman, possibly the worst performance I've ever seen from him, and that hurts me to say.
So you have no frame of reference here, Donnie. You're like a child who wanders into the middle of a movie and wants to know...
Walter.
But even he couldn't make his lines... He just couldn't make his lines work.
Do you see what happens, Larry, when you fuck a stranger in the ass?
Because, first of all, his characters... There's ambiguity, and then there's just we don't know what this character's supposed to mean. You know? He's not mysterious because you know who the fuck he is. He's worthless. He's there to represent the fact that he has something to do with the Godzilla movie because he works for the same company. That's fucking it.
Yeah, basically. Well, and he's there to get them on the island, but yeah, his character was terrible. Every character really sucked in this movie. Tom Hiddleston's character was stupid.
Yeah, Tom Hiddleston's kind of he was just lazy in this movie. He was bored.
Yeah.
He was too much trying to go hey guys, I would love to be Bond. Look at me in my shirt and look at me holding my gun. Listen to my British accent and my big beautiful eyes.
And he was supposed to be this tracker. Did he ever once in the movie do any tracking or any kind of...
He managed to say super clean with a nice slick haircut no matter what kind of shit they got into in that jungle. He looked untouched. And you mentioned Brie Larson, who I think is great, but I just don't know why she needed to be the person in this film. I don't know if she had more than a page total of dialogue. She doesn't speak in the movie.
She wanted the paycheck, or if the producers felt like, hey, she's an Oscar winner, let's get her in this film. I don't know if possibly she was already cast before she had won the Oscar. I don't know how all that went down. But it seems so typical. We always see these young girls win an Oscar, and the next thing they do is an action, adventure, big franchise movie, and they usually suck. The girl who just won last year, she's now like Laura Croft or something.
Oh yeah, Alicia Vikander's fucking Laura Croft.
They immediately do that every single time.
That's exactly what Angelina Jolie did. As soon as she won her Oscar, she became Laura Croft.
Emma Stone is going to play like a new Ripley or something. What's she going to do next? I mean, she just won, so she's probably off to some action movie.
Yeah, but she's kind of already a huge movie star, whereas Brie Larson kind of got launched from that Oscar.
Yeah. People still don't really know who she is.
No, in this movie, she certainly isn't going to help anyone because she doesn't do anything in it. I think she was cast before the Oscar. So one of the things I like about this movie is it doesn't waste a lot of time. Like its supposed franchise brother, Godzilla, that is 2 hours of setup, this movie really just doesn't give a shit about wasting time. They're on the island within, like, I want to say 8-9 minutes of the movie. You've got Kong in full destruction mode within the first 15 minutes, maybe 20 tops. And yeah, this movie did not want to waste time, which is another issue with the tonal difference between this one and its quote unquote brother film, is that how they end up linking those, who knows. But this one, on one hand, it gets things going, doesn't bore the audience with too much bullshit. On the other hand, though, its lack of setup is what gets you not invested into anything or anyone, including Kong pretty much, who's window dressing in this movie, who's great, looks cool fights, but you don't know shit about it.
I thought Kong was kind of a badass in the movie, and like you said, that getting the action going very quickly in the film helped. Bringing him on screen like in full view in that first action scene that he's involved in is great. They're not hiding him for 2 hours like they did with Godzilla.
That was a good move.
Yeah, I thought that was great, and I thought he looked cool, how big he is. They make him much bigger than many of the previous versions of Kong. He's almost a full building size at this point. So I thought Kong was pretty cool himself. I thought that the action at times was filmed pretty well. I thought the cinematography looked pretty good, was vivid and colorful.
I thought the colors were great.
Yeah, and so that was fun. So the direction was all right in the film. It was just working from such a shitty script that he didn't have much that he could do when you've got these dialogue scenes and these poor characterizations to put on screen.
That's the worst thing about this movie. There's overacting and there's stiff acting, but none of them were able to do shit with this script.
You are going to tell me everything I don't know, or I'm going to blow your head off.
It was so bad.
Except John C. Reilly. And he was still overacting.
I don't think he was reading from the script. I think they just told John C. Reilly to go crazy, and he just came up with that. But there's some just ridiculous things in this movie that we don't have to go over because it might end up in spoiler territory, but it wasn't like boring stupid. It was fun stupid.
Yeah, I'm really ripping on the movie, but I kind of had fun with the movie. It was so stupid. I
couldn't stop laughing. I was laughing the whole movie. I thought it was a comedy. It's so funny.
It did have some strange moments of comedy, like comedy edits.
There's a lot of things that I can't recall right now that I was like, man, that's a horrible shift and that's just a horrible transition or something.
The way I felt. It felt jarring to me, but at the same time it was like, okay, if this film wants to be kind of comedic, then I get why these are in here. Would a bobblehead of Nixon exist in 1974? Does bobblehead exist in 1974?
That's a great question.
But whatever, who cares? It was kind of
funny. To me,
funny.
a bobblehead always seemed like an 80s idea. The people on set working hard to get things done did a great job. Larry Fong is the cinematographer. He did Super 8, he did 300. Good cinematographer. I thought the effects were great.
But those little comedy edits that came in the movie really reminded me of the previous film by this filmmaker. So I kind of saw his stamp with some of those shots and edits.
So I thought there was a couple good tense-filled moments here, but for the most part, I never felt fearful of any of the main characters. And except the ones that you just know aren't going to make it because it's just by design they're not going to make it. There's characters in this movie that try to feel like Kurtz, from Apocalypse Now. Everything about this movie wants to be Apocalypse Now, based on just the fact that they play the soundtrack from Apocalypse Now through the whole fucking movie and hammer it over your head. And every character, even like Toby Kebbell's character, he actually possibly was someone I was almost rooting for a little bit. Toby Kebbell's character. He was just so underused. Yeah, but he kind of had a heroic vibe about him. But he never got the chance to do anything with that.
Corey Hawkins, I think, was the Dr. Dre guy. Terrible dialogue coming out of that guy's mouth. It's freaking stupid.
Did you know that Dr. Dre and Eazy-E were both in this movie?
The guy who played Eazy-E, Jason Mitchell.
Both
I thought he was
standouts
amazing.
of that movie.
Yes.
Almost Oscar caliber performances. They had shit to do in this one.
And then so bad in this movie. I kind of blame the writing more than their acting.
Absolutely.
But they were terrible, as was every character in the movie. They just were so underwritten. Even the creature designs were kind of uninspired at times.
Totally, man. Totally. The skull fuckers or whatever they're called. Total lazy rip-off of Cloverfield Monster to an extent. They just didn't look like they could fight Kong, really.
And the worst creature of the whole film for me was the giant spider.
That barely even got seen, yeah.
Barely got seen, but that whole scene was the one that really stood out to me as, like, it felt like I was watching the 2005 Peter Jackson King.
Totally. I was thinking the same thing. That movie feels like it's 5 hours long when they're on the island. Like, it was juxtaposed, like, one group of people and then, like, plants, like, growing giant vaginas and sucking people's arms through them and stuff like that.
VAGINA, we got pussy for days.
Well, Samuel Jackson's character, you point out he was probably the winner of the cheesiest acting award in the film. The motivation they gave his character seemed so forced and unrealistic. It was just there to have a human villain because Kong is supposed to kind of be a good guy. And you pointed out he's kind of the one that goes Kurtz in this film.
He goes Kurtz, yeah.
Yeah.
For no reason,
For
though.
no reason.
And they don't have time to explain the inner workings of his mind, nor do they have any interest in trying. When he wants to be shitty, he can be really, really shitty. I don't think I've seen him be... To me, this is right up there with what I think his all-time worst performance of all time is, which is Hondo from SWAT.
Definitely this is one of his worst performances.
No, I don't like to drive, but I got a feeling this is going to be on Clark Johnson's most exciting police chase.
At least...
Yeah, he was annoying. He wasn't even, like, fun. He was just annoying and horrible. There's movies where you don't get people's motivation, but you're like, okay, fine. They're chewing up the scenery. I'll deal with it. I was so pissed because I didn't know why he was deciding to do what he wanted to do. It went with the rest of the script. It was so lazy that it was just like, we'll have him be the villain that wants to, do this stuff and this stuff, but we won't really tell anybody why. Who cares? Like, I think I ate like a large popcorn watching this movie without even realizing it, because it's a fucking popcorn in your face movie.
It's definitely that kind of movie, yeah. It's a leave your brain at the door kind of movie, which I have trouble doing sometimes.
I think you have to leave your brain in the parking lot when you watch this one.
For real.
It's so dumb.
Not even the parking lot. It's too close to the theater.
These are the dumbest scientists. Scientists are so stupid in movies.
But yeah, I think one thing, you pointed out, the tone of this film has nothing to do with the 2014 Godzilla movie.
Couldn't be more different.
Which I'm happy with because I didn't really enjoy that movie, but... I'm not sure where they're going to go with this as a connected universe when you've got two such different films. Who is directing Godzilla 2? Do we know this yet?
It's not... Oh, I'm actually very happy about this because it's Michael Dougherty.
Oh, interesting. Well, he brings fun to his film.
He brings fun to it. That might be the perfect person to do it.
In fact, they might be thinking... okay, we're going to be similar to this Kong tone, and he's a good choice to kind of pull it off.
He can pull off a mix between those two. He doesn't have to be as hokey as this.
No.
He definitely isn't going to allow a script that stupid.
I don't think so.
He's a writer first before anything else.
Oh, okay.
So I'm happy to see how that, because he's really good at a mix of like puppetry and animatronics and a little bit of CGI for cleanup.
They may even whatever studio is behind this, is it Sony or who? I don't know who's behind it, but
it's legendary because they own all that stuff.
They may have been scared off by the Batman Superman dark film, like DC saying we're going to go dark, and then it backfired on them a little bit. So they're trying to marvel up their universe a little bit, possibly.
Absolutely.
Not hiring a director that would be that dark and dour like Gareth Edwards.
Yeah. Well, if you're starting your own cinematic universe from your franchise, which of those two models do you want to go after?
Exactly.
Hey man, more power to... I'll keep watching these just because I'm goofing on this one. I had a fucking blast laughing my ass off to this movie. It was so funny.
Really ripping this movie apart, but I did kind of have fun with it. It's just... I didn't leave my brain at the door or in the parking lot or even at home, and so I have a lot of problems with it, but at the same time, like you, I was sitting there munching my popcorn and kind of enjoying the stupidity as much as I want to harp on the script. There's some fun to be had in this movie.
Totally. And John C. Reilly that guy does not get enough credit for how good he is as a comedic actor, because that guy is legendary to me. Like, he is so good at being a comedic actor. And yeah, it's kind of one note. It's always sort of the same kind of goofy guy, that he's basically just Dale from Step Brothers in this movie, but he's on Skull Island. But I don't care. It's hilarious. Everything he says is funny. So from the Gulp Gauge score for me for Kong Skull Island, because this film was being billed as a setup film for the character, you know nothing substantial is going to happen, and nothing does. That was the point I was trying to make through this review. It's because it's set in the past, you know that these characters aren't going to be back for anything else. You know that Kong is not going to die because he's got to fight someone out. That's not a spoiler. It's all over that he's going to be in other Kong movies. So you're just sort of watching it for the ride, and that's all there is to it. So for me, I'm going to give Kong Skull Island 5.5 gulps.
Well, that's the exact same score that I'm giving it. 5.5 gulps for me. I'd be interested to see more from this shared universe or whatever, this series going forward. I'll definitely check out more of it, but I sure hope they bring in a better scriptwriter for whatever sequels are to come.
Okay, so that was it for us for Kong Skull Island. As always, if you guys like this review, please leave a comment down in the comment section below. Click like and or subscribe.
Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
At Cinema Gulp.
This is John.
And this is Ben.
We drink your cinema.
I drink it up! Get the fuck up! Simon says, get the fuck up! Throw your hands in the sky! Sneezers in the back, sipping yak, y'all, what's up? Girls, rub on your titties. Yeah. Fuck it, I said it, rub on your titties. New York City, pretty committee, pity the fool that act shitty in the midst of the calm, the witty.
Yo, shut the fuck up. Luck says shut the fuck up. Bitches in the back like crack getting cut up. I speak on behalf of them broads you call stuck up. Act like a man to get cock smack the fuck up. Pull a truck up. Luck, you know the name. Assed out in the bleachers, stay shitting on the game. I suppose what you spitting is flames. Cowards. New York